me just throw some information up here. This is about Polychem. Their first installation was in 1982 down in Miami Gate, Florida. Right now they have 10,000 collectors worldwide. They're running in all 50 states, 64 foreign countries. They have 7 million feet of chain in operation. They're approved vendors in all the major cities, New York, Los Angeles, Upper Blackstone, etc. They're an approved vendor with all the major engineering houses, CDM, M&E, Brown Caldwell, various other ones. They're the sole source vendor for Washington, D.C.'s federally funded wastewater plant down there. We all know how much crap comes out of Washington, so they need a big one down there. There's 512 collectors running 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We have a guy from Polychem down there pretty much every week working with them. They're
Fixing them or?
installing them. They have like maybe 4 of the 512 running. It's new installation, so they're just getting through it. The NCS 720S non-metallic chain collector. This is what is running your system down there. These are the comparisons between a non-metallic and the metallic chains. The old chains were cast iron stainless. Their weight per foot was about 5.8 pounds. Their working load was 5,000 pounds. Ultimate strength 10,000, and they last anywhere from 6 to 8 years. Compared to the collector chain that was put in down in the tank here, it's a thermoplastic. The weight is well under half. It's 1.3 pounds. The working load is 3,100 pounds, which is less than the steel. The ultimate strength is 6,500 pounds, which as you see is less there too. Your longevity though is 10 to 15 years. And you might think, well, that's not that great of a comparison, but in an average tank, the average system only needs about 1,200 pounds of load. That's what it's pushing. So you can see that the plastic chain is well above what the average system would use. What it takes to put these together, the chains. Nice little diagram there.
Wrench.
Yeah, you need a standard 1 1/8 open end wrench, some elbow grease, and a pair of strong hands. Here is the chains. As you can see here, number 1 is where it would link together. There's a pin. You insert the pin through the link into the cam lock, and you put the links together like that, stick that through. You rotate the pin 90 degrees. There's a little notch on the end of that, locks it in so it doesn't slide out. You insert the clip, and your chain is complete. Now you may need to do that a couple thousand times to get the chain together, but it's fairly easy just to put them together, lock them in. The chain adjustment. And if you put it together, you should pretty much know how much distance you need between your flights there to begin with, but you may need to adjust a little bit either way. The adjustments are made by additional or removal chains of length. Chains must always be made in equal strands between 2 flights. What you do to one side, you need to do to the other. As it says there, it must always be directly opposite each strand. The number of links between flights side by side must be equal. So it's running perpendicular to each other. Flights want them to be straight. You don't want 10 links on one side, 8 links on another, so that it causes it to be cattywampus. If you want to utilize the come-along strap, 1-inch nylon straps there, stitch that together, pull the links together, make it easy for you so the tension's off of it. See here, flight, which we'll get to a little later. See what that is then. Should just be equal on either side. You actually have a 4-shaft chain catenary adjustment, just a slack. Here again, these pictures you really can't quite see too well. They are in the O&M manual. It's just explaining the notes on how to pull it together, how to take the pins back out, as we showed you before on the previous slides. This would be a 3-shaft. It's pretty much typical 2 4-shaft clearance-wise. A being minimum clearance of 6 inches from any obstruction that would be in the tank. Your chain is going to run around. When you have a flight on there, you don't want anything to be hitting that. You want to have at least a 6-inch clearance. You're going to have water in there. It will be floating a little bit. Things can change around there. You don't want anything hanging down, or if you put something in there, a rope or anything like that off of a pier or something that's above there, it hits that, it could really tangle up the system. And that's something you can look for when you're down there or whenever. The B here, the minimum clearance is 8 foot from end of lower return rail. The flights will run on a return rail on the bottom here, well actually on top. When that comes down, you should have basically about 8 feet from where the lower return rail starts to where the first flight hits it. If you'd start seeing, say when the basin's down and you're running it just to check it out, you would see that's going a lot farther, 10, 12 feet, something would be out of whack. There'd be a little light would go and say something's out.
Do you have Sludge device system?
Your system is a 4-shaft.
Right.
There's 1 shaft up here. Just adds an extra length, not quite sure, but it's just 1 more shaft up in here. I don't know if there's any on here. I know there's pictures of it, but no, not there. There are other pictures, pass this book around actually if you'd like, of a 4-shaft. That's what a 4-shaft looks like there. Okay, this is the drive chain, the NH78. Again, I know those little pictures there on much use to you, but this is what is actually going to be running the chain cross collectors, not cross collectors, chain throughout the system. The material is a glass reinforced nylon with a stainless steel pin through it. The ultimate strength of this is 4,100 pounds. Your working load is 1,740 pounds. With a pitch of 2.609, and the weight per foot would be 1.5 pounds. Drive chain assembly. Tools required for this. Before you needed a 1/1/8 wrench for the other chain. This required a 1/4-inch drift pin and a hammer. You can see the drift pins have a little knoll on the end of them. To remove a pin that's already put in there, you want to knock it out in the direction so you're not driving that knoll through both links there. That'll chip it up. You don't want to use that again. To install a pin, there again, take from the shortest distance so that knoll doesn't go through both of the holes. What that would do is just rip that link up. You won't be able to use it. You never want to reuse an existing hole either because of that knoll locks it in there. And just smack that out, it's all ripped up. But you can always switch that link in or flip it over and you don't have that again. This is the fiberglass flight assembly. And you see your flight spacer that connects it to the chain. You can see it on this one right here. Okay. The flight's a fiberglass flight. That's what does the dragging, for lack of better terms, across the bottom of the tank, squeegee. That will bring it back to your operator cross collector. What that consists of, I think it actually shows you here, but I don't want to flip it to the next one. There we go. It's 55% glass, C-channel flight. You have in the back there, full height filler block. That's what basically just assembles everything together. The shoes that go on there. The shoes, as you see there, you have a floor rail wear shoe. The other one you have is a return rail wear shoe with a guide lug. The guide lug on the bottom there keeps it from coming off the bottom rail. It has a little lip on it. Here again, you really can't see it in there, but you'll see it down the tank. Makes it so it stays in line, doesn't come off of there. You don't want to be switching them around. If you ever replace one, say 5 years down the road here or something, one's worn.
What's a typical wheel life on
Uh,
that?
it depends on, I guess, the granular that's in the bottom there. It's a long time. You can check them annually. I actually have a list here of the times when I check them, but the wear life, and I actually, not giving me a number here, but you want to check them to wear shoes annually when you drop the tank down. I wouldn't think you'd have to replace them for quite a while. They're supposed to be a long life part. But then again, they're made out of, well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. No, it's a UHM, well, UHMW is the strip that goes on there. Polypropylene, or not polypropylene, polyvinyl or something. It's on here. We'll look at
Get a
that.
rock down there and get checked.
It will wear into it, yes. But it's not going to shatter it or anything like that. It's made out of thermoform plastic.
They're a rigid product, there's no spring to them. If they-
No. Well, the flight itself,
The
or
flight
the wear
is,
shoe.
the flight, there's no means of relapsing if it comes across something.
Very little. It's still going to run on that track. As you were dry running it yesterday, there are some stones at the bottom there. Catch that stone. You can come down, pick that up, take the stone out, put it back down the wear strip, or let's go over it. There is movement in that a little bit. It's not going to sway back or something to be in there, which is what the shear pins on the drive motor. If something, say,
Get wedged into.
yeah, anything. I don't know if a soda can would do it. Say, someone drops a soda can and walking something across there or something. Just that example. A boot gets in there. For whatever reason, whatever it would be, that would actually catch, seize the system up, and it would shear the pin on the motor. So, if anything major like that would be in the bottom there, it's going to cause damage to the flight or the shoe, it would probably stop the system completely. The completed flight assembly, here again, the diagram. That's just what bolts going to on your pillar block, chain attachments. The wear strips, UHMW PE wear strip. Ultra high molecular weight, polyethylene. You can see here, hold on a second. Okay. What this does is decreases the friction factors generated by the equipment. These strips here are mounted on your return rails, so the shoe will run on them. They're lubricated all by water, so when most all parts of this are lubricated by water. The grease fittings, of course, aren't. You need to put grease on them. The gears and the actuator aren't. But all the parts that are in that tank, you never need to go in and oil or grease. It's all done by the water. It extends the life of the wear shoes. Extends the life of the system bearings. You can see here, well, that'll be the next slide here. Using both the floor and the return rail locations. You can take note of you have a round hole on that side, you have the elongated ovals. That's going to come up here and a few slides down the road. Here's the attachment for the wear strip. Usually you have a washer and an anchor. It anchors down. You do want to have some play in them. These will expand to trap the heat, water temperature, sunlight. You go down here, at some point you'll see some, because the water's not in there, the sun has warped a couple of them, heated them up. When the water goes back on, they'll cool down, they should go back to the original state. And it's actually not in a place where it would matter, but it does look a little funny. The travel is very important with these wear strips. Here's where the different holes come into play. The round hole on the bottom, on the one side of the wear strip, is the fixed hole. That should be tight, anchored down to the concrete. The oval holes on there allow for movement for when that does stretch. before they expand. What you do there is you anchor them in and back them out a half a twist so that they just wiggle a little bit. Floor rail wear strip, same concept, however, runs the opposite direction. Your top rail is going to be going, well, whichever direction we're running here. Okay, it's going to be going back that way. Here's your hole, and now your ovals are going the direction your flights are going, so that the flights, when they go over top of it, stretch in that direction. You have them reversed.